of the most common questions that I get is, how could we ever move from BC to Alberta? Well, 2 years ago, my wife Caroline and I were getting ready to buy our first home. We'd spent years saving. I knew our mortgage options and we were ready to become homeowners. We quickly eliminated Vancouver to Langley because prices for a house were simply insane, for regular people like us at least. We narrowed our search down to Abbotsford, Mission, Chilliwack in the hopes that an older home on a small lot would be within reach. I reached out to a realtor I trusted, having seen him put his clients first time and time again, and worked out search parameters. Right out of the gate, he was brutally honest with us. If we wanted anything that could be lived in, we were looking at $1 million plus. Discouraged but determined, we had the search set up and spent the next 2 months scouring through listings. Not a single property excited us. It was either in need of $100,000 of essential maintenance or it was well over $1.3 million. Either way, it felt like a financial death sentence. One rainy night in November, we were in Vancouver after all, I had an idea. A bit of a Hail Mary, but I was desperate. The idea of $1 million mortgage kept me up night after night. I was a mortgage broker and I could not shake the idea, what if interest rates go up? I knew I had to do something. The next night I pulled out my phone, opened up Kijiji, the most active Craigslist equivalent in Alberta, and searched acreages for sale. I quickly found about 15 properties priced under $450,000 that had a nice house and at least 3 acres. I selected the nicest one I saw and laid the trap. The setup was ready, now I just had to take a leap. Wow, that's a good deal, I mumbled just loudly enough to make sure my wife overheard me. She instantly perked up and asked me, "What?" I sheepishly handed her my phone, listing open on a picture of a beautiful 4-acre yard full of trees and a single horse staring at the camera. You see, my wife has had a lifelong obsession with horses and I knew her dream was to live on an acreage one day. The problem was we didn't have millions of dollars in the bank, so it wasn't going to happen in BC. Alas. She took the phone without a word and began to swipe through the photos. I held my breath. After what felt like an eternity, she asked me, "Where is this?" with a heavy dose of skepticism in her voice. I let her know it was about 30 minutes west of Edmonton. We lived in Ladner, BC, roughly a 40-minute drive from Vancouver if the traffic gods were kind. Her second question was, is this some kind of scam? How can these houses on 4 acres be $425,000? I seized the moment and explained how cheap Alberta was compared to BC and Ontario. Halfway through my pitch, she went back to the phone, started scrolling through Kijiji listings. For nearly 2 hours, she flipped through properties. Every time she found one she liked, she would show me. The hook was in. She was excited. At the end of her Kijiji rampage, she told me in no uncertain tone that we were moving to Alberta. Things moved quickly from here. I reached out to a realtor I'd worked with for years in Edmonton and had a search set up for an acreage within 30 minutes of Edmonton. Within 60 days, we had found our dream home. 10 acres of trees, grassy fields, and a 1976 home that was built by the current sellers and had a handful of outbuildings on it that could maybe hold a horse or two. We made our move May of 2022, loaded up a trailer with our most important possessions and hit the road. Nothing like leaving Vancouver for a 14-hour drive at 6 p.m. We drove through the night with a brief 60-minute nap in a small town parking lot and arrived at our new home at noon. We were home. If you're feeling frustrated with the cost of living in BC like we were and you're thinking of making a move, feel free to reach out or follow below. I'm going to be sharing more of our story about how we moved out, the pushback we got from our family, and the challenges that we had to overcome. There were 3 key questions that I had to ask myself and my family before we knew we were going to move. I'll share them with you below.